welcome to today's video. In today's video we're going to be talking about green flags for reptile keepers. These are just things that I notice here and there, especially for me because I work customer service for Zen Habitats. So I see a lot of people interested in getting reptiles that maybe don't have any experience, or they're just like looking into getting something new. And I see green flags all the time, which makes me so happy. So I wanted to mention them in today's video. If you do these things, give yourself a pat on the back, and my respect goes out to you. I think it's important to talk about the positive things in the reptile community. I know a lot of the times people highlight the negatives and things that people are doing wrong, but I think it's important to take a moment to just appreciate all of the people that are doing things right. And I just get so happy when I see these green flags. It makes my day. I love seeing it. So we're going to talk about that today. So the first green flag is extremely obvious, and it's something that I feel the need to constantly mention when you're keeping reptiles, and that is to do research. So if you do your research before getting an animal, that is a major green flag. That is exactly what you want to be doing. The worst thing ever is when people just show up and they see a cool reptile for the first time and they're just like, wow, I really want that. And then they just buy it and they don't understand anything about that animal or the care or anything that goes into it. And ultimately that can lead to a really sick or unhealthy animal, not getting what it needs, and then possibly rehoming it, or the animal gets sick or it dies. And we obviously don't want to see that. So research is just so important. And I love seeing people that come on and are just like doing research, and all of you guys too that pop up on my videos that are just like here doing research and here to learn. Like, that attitude is going to go a long way when it comes to reptile keeping, and that just makes you a major green flag. Number 2 is having everything set up for the animal before you bring it home. So this means you have the enclosure, the lighting, literally everything that the animal is going to need before you get the animal. That way when you do get the animal, you can just put it in the enclosure, let it calm down, let it adjust to its new surroundings and home, and just that will reduce stress as much as possible. The worst thing ever is to get a new animal and be frantically trying to get things situated when you already have the animal and it's not ready to go. That's stressful for you, that's stressful for the animal, especially for the animal, because that's such a stressful time to be like going from one habitat to another, and then for it to not go smoothly. That's not good. That's not good for the animal. So I love seeing people that are like fully prepared and looking to get prepared for the animal before actually getting it. Just major green flags there. I love seeing that. Number 3, owning a temp gun. So this is something that I think that every reptile keeper should have. I do notice a lot of people have the little thermostats, the little temperature gauges in their enclosures. Those aren't the best because they aren't as specific, and it's doing a general vicinity of that area. So if you want to get different variances of throughout your enclosure, the best thing to do is to use a temp gun, because you can point directly at the exact spot you want to know what the temperature is. You can check the cool areas, you can check literally anywhere in the setup and know exactly what the temperature ranges are. And that's very, very important when it comes to reptile keeping, to make sure that they have proper temperatures throughout the entire enclosure. It is important to have variances. So obviously you want a warm spot for a basking area and you want a cooler area. So it's good to have a temp gun to be able to make sure that all of those are on point. Temperature guns are, I think, around like $19, $20. You can get them on Amazon, and they are just one of the most handy things that you definitely need when you're a reptile keeper. So if I notice people are using that to make sure that their animals are getting the proper temperatures, it's a green flag. Number 4 is not something that is attainable for everyone because it is very expensive, and that is a solar meter. So the solar meter is going to help you measure the output of your UVB to make sure that it's in a safe range and that it's still working adequately. Because as a lot of you may know, when you get a UVB bulb, all it does is consistently go down over time, but it looks exactly the same. So basically people say to switch it out every 6 months just to be safe, but if you have a solar meter and you're measuring it, you may need to change it sooner, or you can even use it for longer depending on the output that's coming out. You just want to make sure that the right output of UVB is coming out for your animal. And then you can look into the Ferguson zone and make sure that that is correct for your reptile as well. Those are just like some of the best things to do when it comes to UVB for your reptiles. But solar meters are hundreds of dollars and very expensive and definitely not attainable for everyone. So it doesn't make you a bad reptile keeper if you can't afford to get this. But if I do notice someone has this tool, it is a major green flag and shows obviously their understanding of like Ferguson zones and UVBs and proper care and husbandry for their animals. Number 5 is gut loading. So gut loading is when you're going to be feeding healthy greens and veggies and a little bit of fruits here and there to your insects before you feed them to your reptiles. That way they get even more hydration and nutrients in the bugs that they're eating. So very, very important. Everyone should be doing this, and people who are doing this, obviously it's a green flag and props to you for doing an amazing job. Number 6 is something that I'm not saying it's a requirement, but it is something that I definitely appreciate, and when I see it, I think it's a green flag, and that is when people create naturalistic backgrounds for their reptiles. I think that they are so great for reptiles because not only for you visually, it makes the enclosure just look way more appealing, and it just sets a whole backdrop to look like a jungle or a desert or wherever the animal is, but it also provides a lot of enrichment for your animal. Your animal can climb on it, can sniff it, it has different textures, so if you have a snake and is trying to get it shut off, it can use that to rub it shut off. You can use it to hook in climbing branches, especially like what I do for my chameleons. Otherwise, it's really hard, especially with chameleons, to get branches to stay in place, but making a naturalistic background really allows you to lock those branches into place and to be able to supply them a lot of different branches for climbing, which is obviously what they need. So there's just a lot of great aspects that come out of using a naturalistic background for your reptiles. So I love to see that. It's also nice to just see people going the extra mile and putting in that extra effort for their animals and their setups. So just all green flags for me for seeing that. I love seeing them. Number 7 is bioactive. So people do get confused with the term bioactive. Bioactive simply means that you have a substrate that has microfauna in it. And the microfauna are isopods and springtails and little bugs that are going to function as a cleanup crew. If you do have this in your substrate, it does provide a cleaner environment because those microfauna are going to work at eating away the waste in the setup. You should still be spot cleaning, of course, but if you are using a bioactive setup, it's just a little bit cleaner. It also will provide a little bit more enrichment for your animals. So I love to see bioactive setups. I think that it is the most naturalistic replication for a lot of reptiles when we're keeping them in captivity to replicate what it would be like in nature outside. So I love to see some bioactive setups. Number 8 is live plants. So you guys know me, I love using fake plants as well as live plants. I think that both are fantastic. But live plants are going to be the absolute best that you could possibly do, and that is because it's the most naturalistic. It's also something that's going to be really helpful if you're trying to increase humidity for your reptile. Fake plants aren't able to increase the humidity like a live plant, so live plants are very important for that. And then of course they look beautiful, they provide some enrichment for your animals, some hiding places for your animals as well, and overall just look amazing and are replicating what it would be like in the wild in your home, and that is the best goal when it comes to keeping reptiles. Number 9 is people using thermostats for their heat pads. So a lot of people just aren't aware of this, and I had issues with this when I was starting out as well. I wasn't using my thermostat correctly. I bought them and was not using the probe, which the probe is needed when using a thermostat. But a lot of people just buy heat pads and they aren't aware that you need a thermostat to regulate that heat pad. Otherwise, it's just going to get extremely hot to the point where it can burn your animal. And that can be very dangerous. So, and it is kind of dumb because I don't think that when you're buying heat pads, it says like you have to buy a thermostat. And a lot of the times, if you're at pet stores, they don't sell thermostats. You don't see them anywhere. So you would buy this heat pad thinking you're good to go. and you actually do need a thermostat. If you're doing more research or watching videos like this and you can learn about the things that are also required, that's why research is so important, because some things are just missed and not all of these important things are mentioned when you're shopping for your reptiles at stores. So yeah, if you have a heat pad, you absolutely need a thermostat to regulate it to make sure that it is in a safe range for your reptile. And people that use them, it's a green flag because they know what they're doing and they're doing it right. Number 10 is UVB, even when UVB is not required. There are a lot of species that don't require UVB, but if you're still willing to offer it because it can be beneficial for your reptile, and it also does replicate what it would be like in the wild, because they're still going to get a little exposure to some UVB through the sunlight, even if they're hiding away or in a shaded area. So if you're willing to do that, that is a major green flag, and I wish I could do that for all of my animals. I'm out of plugs in this room, so I really can't. I try my best with it, but yeah, I love to see when people just have like full spectrum lighting for all of their animals. That is such a green flag. I love seeing it. Number 11 is large enclosures. People do get hated on, I feel like, pretty often for having large enclosures, because they think people like to spread information like, oh, animals that are reptiles don't need a lot of space because it'll stress them out. They like confined little spaces and hiding, which a lot of reptiles do. But you can still provide them with a lot of space in a large enclosure. The way to reduce stress is, again, providing those little hides and little places for them to feel safe and secure within that setup. But then having a large setup still allows them all of this opportunity for climbing around, for checking things out, for enrichment, and for spreading out. And all of that is very important and something that shouldn't be overlooked when you're keeping reptiles. So anyone who's able to go like with big, large enclosures, I don't think they should ever be hated on. I think that that should be like thoroughly respected and what we should all strive to do for all of our animals, because they deserve all of the space you could possibly give them. So the people that are willing to do that are just major green flags. And last but not least are people that are willing to help others without judgment. So the reptile community is known for being pretty negative in this aspect, and people are kind of known for, especially on social media, going after other people or yelling at them or telling them that they're doing things wrong. People that are able to educate in a nice, non-judgmental way are the best people out there. That is what the whole reptile community should be, just all of these people helping each other so we can all learn and all be growing and all be providing better lives to our reptiles. Some people, I don't know if it's like an ego thing or what it is on the internet. The internet can be a pretty negative place, but we gotta highlight those people that really are helpful and non-judgmental and just looking to improve other people's care in a nice and compassionate way. Love to see that. Major green flags. So I would love to know what you guys think are some of your green flags for other reptile keepers in the community. Try to keep it positive. I want this to be a positive video talking about positive things about reptile keepers, because there's just too much negativity, I feel like, a lot of the time. So yeah, I'm interested in your thoughts, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next one.